going on, man?
Nothing much. Just just here in the burg, just trying to stay alive, stay black and undead. Right now,
I think that I think that trying to stay alive before the pandemic, that was just like a thing that we said. Now it's actually like a factual thing. Like
Yeah.
it's like stepping outside.
It's the pandemic is one of those things that I hate when people say honorary black this and honorary black that, but I think that for the first time, some white people are starting to realize, oh shit, the air can actually kill you. Gravity, the atmosphere could actually kill you, and this is an existence that we just got used to with our entire existence, and now it's like, holy shit, yeah, this just stepping outside for a second could do that too.
Well, but then as usual, we have the there's the atmosphere trying to kill us, but then there's everything else that was trying to kill us before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
did you watch Lovecraft? Did you watch Lovecraft Country?
I didn't, man. I didn't. Okay. I was. My wife was watching it. I was knocked out.
Okay, because without spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet. I mean, it's about monsters. It's about Jim Crow, but not the Jim Crow South. It's about the North, racism in the North. And in that first premiere episode, you have these terrible monsters, and they did a great job with making these monsters as ugly and as scary with all the teeth and eyes as possible. And they're diesel. It's like a bunch of Kimbo slices, but with 1,000 teeth and eyes over their backs and heads. And the most scary thing is still the racists. Still the racist cops. It's still the racist town people. The monsters are just like, okay, well, these are just some monsters, but the real monsters in the premiere are the racists.
So it's sort of like an accidental metaphor for right now, because I'm sure they conceived it and filmed it all before they knew that this was going to happen.
So I was reading your piece in the New Yorker about the barbershop. And
that still connects with your piece from your book.
So, and I wanted to ask you, I was in the shop once a week before COVID, and I don't shave, I don't do nothing, so I get all of my everything at the barbershop, my beard, my hair, and as you can see, I'm out here looking like Chewbacca right now. Barbershop in so long. And so what is it that you miss most about I'm assuming you're not going to barbershops right now either.
No, I haven't been since the pandemic started.
So what is it about the shop that you miss most?
Well, I had my barber was this so I moved out to Annapolis from where I was living in Silver Spring, and I had a real good barbershop in Silver Spring, and my story was based on the female barber who was cutting my hair, and I really liked how she cut my hair and how she cut my son's hair. Then we got up here, and it was kind of like, I'm not driving an hour to Silver Spring to get my hair cut. So we found there's one black barbershop out here, but you know the rules. The old guy, you probably should skip the old guy, and the guy who doesn't have anybody in their seat. And I broke the rules. and my son, he was about 7, right? And so he's about 7, and at the end of the cut, I was he fucked up my son's hair. He fucked up my hair, and I was trying to reassure. I was like, you like the cut, right? He's like, no, not really. So I found so eventually I found a black barber at the mall, and he was. I'm sorry.
At the mall, a barbershop.
Yeah, I went to one of these corporate mall barbers.
Oh wow.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And it was it didn't have the environment that, it didn't have the black barbershop environment. It was but he was good. And then one day he quit. And I was searching Google and I found him on Google. It's a long answer to your question. I found it. I found his Instagram and saw he opened up his shop. And so what I miss is seeing him build up his business. You know, I was real proud of him. He's a young dude. He has this like real alternative demeanor. You know, he doesn't look like somebody you would usually see. Like no barber I've ever seen. You know, he doesn't have like he has a perm. He's all into samurai stuff. He has a samurai harness that he wears, and it's different.
Barber, okay.
Yeah, he's a black samurai barber, and it's different. And I love seeing him build up his business and all the things that he's trying, all the different little gimmicks and tricks that he's trying to get people in the shop. And I hope that he makes it throughout this. You know.
Yeah, I mean, barbershops, and it's funny that you bring up your the best barber that you've had recently was the woman who was
right. She was great.
And there's this almost like this inverted or reverse affirmative action that happens within like the black barbershop where if they're, because there's misogyny, there's sexism, this baked into those interactions. So if you have a woman that is in the shop, she's either the owner or she's
was she the best barber there?
She's not going to be like the I don't know. She's not going to be the DJ Augustine of the barbershop. She's not going to be like the journeyman who just happened to get a chair somewhere. She's going to be the star if she's in the shop. And the same thing even is for white barbers at black barbershops. Like if there's a white boy working in the black barbershop, you know that his skills are tight because they're not going to just let him rock if he's some shitty barber. He's not going to get the legacy chair. There are no legacy chairs for white barbers in black barbershops.
So what are you missing about it?
So there's the moment. There's like that little space. Okay, so after the cut is done, right? And so there's the whole theatrical situation with the cape removal and the cape removed. They take the neck guard off and then repurpose the neck guard as like the peroxide delivery device where they, do your face, whatever, get the talcum, boom, 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 all that.
It's a ceremony.
Yeah. But then that first moment, you look in the mirror. That first moment, either you're handed a mirror or you turn around and you see, you finally see, I'm a new man. And that first moment when you see yourself after the cut, after this entire process, after the theater and and the majesty and the pomp and the circumstance, and you actually see, this is how I look right now. Okay, you get this. I'm doing this. And I don't know if there's a moment, at least for me, where I ever feel better about myself. Like the first moment when I'm looking in the mirror, I don't think there's no other moment where my self-esteem is higher than that particular moment. And then, you walk, and then, you pay the barber, you say, you give the pound to him and whoever else is that that's in there, and then you leave, and then you're back into the rest of the world.
In 24 to 48 hours, you are the man.
Yeah.
You're the man in 24 to 48 hours.
But even getting back into the rest of the world, even leaving the shop, although there is now people are going to see me with this new cut. I'm Idris motherfucking Elba right now. Even that is flattened a little bit by leaving the safety of the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the shops ain't always safe, but leaving the shop and like, oh shit, I'm back. I'm back in the world now. I'm back in America now. My Idris, I got my Idris, happening right now, but I'm still in America. And so I have a white barber.
Oh yeah,
And
okay.
he's a white boy in a black barbershop. And I found him because I'd had the same barber for 15 years. A man, his name was Andre. He worked at this shop in East Liberty neighborhood in Pittsburgh, called East Liberty Cuts, and it was his shop. And I started going to him, I think when I was like 18 or 19 years old, because my friend went to a barber in that shop, and I was just with him one day. We were about to go hoop. I needed a cut. I rolled with him, and I was like, you know what? I'll get a cut in this shop or whatever. And he had an open chair, and I've been going to him for, up until I was 34, 35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He became a good friend, and not like the sort of friend that you invite over to game night or barbecue, but the sort of dude that you just look forward to seeing every week. And you chop it up, talk about his kids, we talk about school, we used to argue about LeBron and random as fuck sports things. But he was a bad barber.
And you can't leave your bad barber.
He was objectively bad at cutting hair because he would be so consistent and he would be so distracted, where he would start a cut, then he would go like play a number, and I'd be sitting in a chair for like 15 minutes waiting for this nigga to come back, or he would be eating, offer me fries or offer me a slice of the pizza. Like, nigga, just finish out. I can get food. I didn't come here for food. I'm here to get a haircut. And so one side, like he'd do one side, then he'd go off and, be on the phone and then come back and do the other side. And then I would come home and my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, would be like, yo, I know you love this barber, but something, yeah, he making your head look like an extra sketch right now. Something has to give. So I finally was like, you know what? I need to find a new shop. And so there was a new shop that opened like 2 blocks away from the shop I went to. And I just rolled up in there one day. It already was an upgrade. Like the shop was nicer. The barbers all looked like they were doing on point shit. And the person who asked me if I needed help was one white boy who was in there. So I'm not going to be racist and be like, you white. I'm good. So I went, it's like, fuck, I guess this is his fate right here. So I went and sat in his chair, and he's been my barber since. And this was 2000 and I think 2014 or 15.
Okay.
And he's been my barber since then. So we got these hair stories, man. I mean, it's barbershop is, a hollowed and also deeply problematic place, and it just
right. Right. I mean, and I was in my first book I wrote, because what you're talking about with the barber decline, I was just finding that's just like inevitable. The greatest barber is with time is just gonna decline. They're either just gonna stop giving a fuck, or their skills just dissipate. And so with my first book, I was kind of skeptical about writing about it because it felt like a cliched thing to write about in Black literature, but I couldn't not write about it. It just felt like it was such a big part of our lives. It's like I look at my son, and his hair is so important to him, and he's 9, and it's like I don't even know how he got like that. It's like it was something innate. It's like not I'm 9 push. And so, I had thought about this, sort of metaphor for that decline, it's almost like a curse. And so that story is a sequel to that. That story in the New Yorker is a sequel to the story in my first book. And I think with that one, I just sort of just got deeper into thinking about, we talk about the problematic aspects of it. With the first one, I was thinking of all the fucked up things that I was that I was, that I heard as a young man growing up, and this was the 80s. So it was like, it's just different. It's just like, you go into the barbershop and, my barber had all these nasty pictures on the wall. And it's just like, I'm thinking like, there's no way I'll bring my son in 2000. We're different in 2020, right? I wouldn't take my son to a barber with the nasty pictures on the wall and penthouse on the table. And then just like a lot of the conversations, but there were, the conversations which inevitably turned oftentimes to the proper ways to beat children. And it's a lot of stuff that that you go in there and you soak in, but then there's this all the camaraderie and the brotherhood, and it's just it's rife to write about, whether you're doing it in memoir, as you did it, and I feel like those stories, there's just so many things that overlap in our stories.
Yeah, and the barbershop, and like you were saying, it does feel cliche sometimes. Okay, black male writing. Okay, you're gonna write about the barbershop. Black male show. I mean, Atlanta had a whole show devoted to a barber. Blackish has had shows devoted to a barbershop. In fact, the Blackish show that was devoted to barbershop, I think, I will take this to my grave, but I believe that someone in the writer's room read something that I wrote about the barber. Based that episode on. But the thing is, we have so many overlapping experiences and so many similar experiences. But I was just watching like, holy shit, this is literally exactly what I wrote. But I know that I'm not singular either.
You're right.
My experience it's not quite universal, but I'm not the only one. But the part about the cliche about the barbershop that actually I do want to challenge is the idea that, and you see this repeated very often, is that this is like where the most valuable black male thought exists, and this is this is if you want to know how black men really feel, how black men really think, and if you want to see black male intellectualism, you need to go to the barbershop. Sometimes, maybe, sometimes, but a lot of those barbershop combos need to stay in the barbershop and don't need to leave the barbershop at all, because, as you were saying, you're getting tips on how to beat children. Sometimes you could be getting tips on how to be more homophobic or more transphobic or more misogynistic. And that's a part of it too. And that's one of those things where, when I was a young man, or teenager, young man, listening to those things, I knew that it was wrong, but I didn't feel grown enough to challenge these grown men talking about this stuff. But then I'm grown enough to challenge, and it doesn't. And in the shop that I go to now, that just doesn't happen as much. But sometimes there might be another client who's in a chair and having a conversation. You hear a thing, and it's like, do I challenge it right now, or do I just, I'm getting my cut, I'm on my phone, I'm not even paying attention. Like, what is the obligation? Do you feel obligated if you're in that space now, knowing, and you're in a space where you know better and you're able to articulate exactly what the right thing is? Do you feel compelled to actually make that challenge in the shop?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I think that we all know the right thing to do is to speak up, but a lot of times it's just it's like why what is the point, right? A lot of the thought is it's so deeply ingrained, and it's so ridiculous. Like I remember one time that a guy was talking about how if his daughter talked back, I'm gonna do him like Marvin Gaye's dad did him, and everybody just got quiet after that, because it's just such a ridiculous thing to say. there's no there's no cause to murder your child, right? We all agree Marvin Gaye's dad was wrong, no, right? So so sometimes it's like, it's performative, and it's like this guy's not gonna murder his child. This guy's speaking from bravado. But a lot of times, it's yeah. I mean, I think that I think there are moments where you participate in the debate, and there are moments where you say, this is bravado, this is stupid. There's no reason for me to jump into it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too, and I think that in that situation that you mentioned, that guy seemed to be clearly just like reaching for a cosign, like reaching for, knowing that what he said was some fuck shit, but reaching for
and he didn't get it.
And yeah, getting that silence sometimes is worse than actually getting a vocal rebuke. It's like, holy shit, crooked.
Our silence was a commentary. I think our silence was a commentary. Maybe that's a cop out, and maybe we should all say, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Don't say some shit like that anymore. But I think our silence was a commentary at that moment.
Yeah, and that it's tricky because, again, I mean, sometimes the silence can be a response, and sometimes it's like, well, yeah, I should have said something. I need to say something. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And I wish that there was a more, I guess, like a more of a science to it. It's like, okay, if it crosses this certain line, then this is when you say a thing.
Right.
But that just doesn't exist. And yeah, and there have been times.
If I'm ready and able, there's often we have often this, you often hear this conspiratorial thought, which I hear it, and I don't feel like going into. I'm just not. Oftentimes, I know it's bullshit, but oftentimes it's like I'm not. I don't have all the. I don't have the resources right now, and it's and I don't. I just rather not engage with your conspiratorial thought. A lot of times I need to think about it and figure out what's the best way to address this. And at that moment, it's just it's not worth it.
Yeah, I feel like, in just thinking about this right now, I am more prone to challenge when I know that I have the words, when I know that I can articulate exactly why, yeah, that's wrong. This is why. this is why it's wrong. Okay. Like someone saying like this class, like, I know, just get on the fucking plane.
But it's like you said, your shop is a little different. It feels like we've moved into another era, and I don't. Well, my shop is a little different, but even when I was going to to a traditional shop, it was I didn't hear a lot of stuff that I wanted to get up and challenge. I don't know if I would sit still for some of the homophobia nowadays. But I didn't hear it a lot.
And that's an important point, because there are so many shops, and yeah, my son is 19 months old, and when I take him to a shop, finally, I'm definitely not taking him to a shop that it's motherfuck this, bitch that.
Right.
No, I'm not taking my son there. I'm not taking my daughter there. I'm not having my wife walk into that shop. And the shop that I currently go to isn't that. In fact, I have to say I've been mostly fortunate in terms of the shops I've been at, and the conversation and the tenor and the mood of the shop.